Welcome you all for today's last session that is about self-development for teachers. Under that, we are going to witness a presentation by Athma Dharshana Salem CBS team. Her topic for today is effective learners. So we all know today's learners are, growing up in a world instant information and then constant connectivity, and they have their own powerful voices. They think fast, they feel deep, they question openly, and I think they value authenticity more than authority. So in this session today by Atma ma'am, I'm sure we are going to explore how to bridge this generational gap, understand the mindset of the Gen Z kids, and use communication as a tool to engage, inspire, and empower our learners. So, without delay, Atma ma'am, here you go. You can start your session. Welcome, Atma ma'am. And
Thank you
welcome
so
all
much,
of you
Bharti ma'am.
participants here.
Thank you so much, Bharti ma'am, for a brief intro. And I'm so thankful to the TLRI team. I wanted to do a session which was like an offline, but I got an opportunity through online. Again, it's very pleasant to do this session. As a last session, I want the session to be a little bit impactful and more takeaway and also a little bit refreshing because you're all at the end of the session. So without any delay, I would like to take you all into the session. Happy day and happy noon to everyone present here. Welcome to this 40-minute session.
Ma'am, I'm done. எல்லாத்துக்கும் sign up போட்டேன்.
Teachers, please ensure that your mic is on mute.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you so
ma'am.
much, ma'am. And welcome to this effective communication with Gen Z learners. So Gen Z represents the most diverse and digitally connected generation in history. If we take our teaching community, we come from lots of like the millennial generation. Now we are all into the millennial generation or like before the millennial generation, Gen X. But we are facing the students who come under the Zoomers, that is Gen Z. So it is a very unique situation today. So in our day-to-day life, as ma'am clearly gave a very brief note, they are digitally fluent and expressive and emotionally responsive. So in the session, we're going to explore two simple but very powerful communication strategies that can completely change how students to connect with us. This is what that we normally find difficult in other classes. Like for example, in other schools, I can point it out because of the strength. Here, the ratio is really good where we have that interaction, no barrier between the interaction, but still some places or in some children, we find this as a little bit of barrier in our day-to-day communication. So we're just going to dive into it and see what is or in which way we can really connect to these gap and make it a bit stronger. And it is just a tool. We are not going to imply it in every period, but whenever it is required, from grade 6 or maybe we can take it from lower grades to the higher grades, we can imply it whenever it is required. So to begin with, we'll start with a quick icebreaker. Can you all see the QR scan on the screen, which has been reflected? So using your mobile Google Lens, you can scan the QR code. Also, I will post the link. If you're not able to scan the QR code, you can just log in through the link, which I will post it in the chat box. And I want you to give a quick response. Great. New terminologies, difference of opinion, not attentive, attention span, not ready to try, clarity, less attention, new terms and words. Looking forward for some of the words. Great. Stressed and lack of clarity. Vocabulary, new vocabulary, very smart. Hard words. That's a huge number. Unyielding, lovely. Stressed and lack of clarity. Communication styles. Their languages. No reaction. Yes, certainly. So almost like we have received 29 responses. Good go. We'll wait for another minute. Listening period, very good. Somebody could type me, what is the current span of attention of a learner of this generation? There is no right answers. You can just try. What is the current span of attention of the present learners? Particularly, we take the generation after 2010. 10 minutes, 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, 20 minutes. Awesome, and then I should attend your class. Murgeshwari ma'am, Wayne sir, 15 minutes. But basically, do you all know like what is the required span of attention for any learners? As a from the bachelor's in education, we would have learned this concept. A learner's span of attention stays for how long? Not 90 minutes, ma'am. We will all sleep. You're closer, Gerald sir. 20 minutes. The span of attention of any learners, particularly in the age group of 13 to 19, it is 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes is the span of attention of a learner. Thank you so much for responding in Mentimeter. Your responses, it was so valuable. Let me quickly get back to the slide. By your responses, I have just understood you and I, like we teachers, often hear lots of differences between a student and a teacher. And the one thing which I literally faced in few of my classes, because for me, every class seems to be a learning classroom rather than a teaching classroom. So students don't listen. We always, as teachers, come with this terminology or a statement or a catchy phrase. Students don't listen. At the same time, how many of us have been in the shoes of the student and heard teachers don't listen? Anybody has have faced such kind of a scenario? You can just raise your hands if you have come across such kind of a scenarios. Okay, so the thing is, there is no huge communication gap, but there is a hairline of communication gap that we come across these Gen Z learners. So we see that communication struggle is universal one. It is not excluded to certain places or certain setup. It is an universal struggle, particularly when we talk about the Gen Z communities. They are quite faster, shorter, more precise, and often more digital. So as teachers, we need to develop an effective listening habit, which isn't a good practice, but it is a self-development for ourselves. So we need to, as an educator, we need to develop this self-development skill by lending very keenly, not just listening to the words, listening to the emotions, listening to the cues, listening to the terminologies, and focusing completely, like mindfully getting into the attention of the student. So then this gap could be minimalized. So for this, we're going to use two different strategies, which I have learned from my teaching experience in my present classroom scenarios. So there are two strategies. One strategy is before starting off your session, and the second strategy will be at the end of your teaching learning activity at the session. So let's just see what they are. So the main objective or the two key goals that we're going to focus on today is to learn, I'm just repeating it, to learn two active listening strategies that match with Gen Z communication pattern of learning, and to practice a mindful communication techniques that helps us to build trust and improve participation among the learners. So here on screen, you could see the image. Can you tell me what they are all about? Anybody can quickly type it in the chat box. What do they represent? Or orally also you can respond. You can unmute and give an oral response. Different emotions, feelings, emojis. Yes, emojis. You could see lots of emojis. How many of us use these emojis in our day-to-day digital conversation? Mood set talks about the understanding. So now the question for you is, you need to pick any one of the emojis that represents how you feel when students are unresponsive in your classroom, and drop in that emoji in the chat box. I repeat, I want all the participants to observe the emojis on the screen and pick any one of the emojis that represents how you feel when students are unresponsive in the classroom. Please be honest, then only the session can be interesting. It cannot be like children are really great. They are very good. Yes, sad, bored. Because this is very common for all the subject teachers. In English class, I see, thank you, Deepesh sir. I like that emoji. Could you express me what that emoji is? Angry. Yes, some really don't like the subject and they really express it. They don't say it through the words. It is all digital expressions. That makes us a little bit in state of confusion. Dull. True, ma'am. Angry face, dull face, starred eyes, which look for something very in the session. Yes, we have an inclusive classroom. So just quick check-in, like in all the classes, with respect to the subjects. Okay, we can just have this to the students what they feel about in the present class. So we can start the time doesn't take much of constraint. When we are going up with a new topic, or we are having a reflection class, or if in these scenarios, we can start like how we can start a class is like use this emoji check-in at the start of the class to understand the mood, mindset of the student. That makes them feel emotional to us. It's not just physical connection, it brings an emotional connection, because now we talk about knowledge, skill, understanding, which ISP is implementing day by day in our routine teacher learning or the learning visits, everything. So this emotional connection is the strong bonding between the teacher and the learner. So like, for example, in the math class, as like few teachers has posted, like knows that they are anxious about the new chapter. And when somebody looks very dull, maybe the student is not finding interesting about the experiment in the science class, and when you make a very annoyed face during the English class, who are not interested to come and give a speech, maybe they are writing part, they are really good. By answering, they are really good. But when it comes to speaking, they show some kind of shyness, or they don't feel curious to come and talk about it. So this is what, or this is how we can understand the mood of a student through our entry of the class. So the first strategy which I have like designed for the teachers of this particular Gen Z student is digital active listening. Through our example itself, we have identified. So when we apply these kind of emojis or like one word reply, short responses, here I would like to add to the first digital active. When I was teaching grade 7, a poetry. So suddenly, the poem is all about Paralympics. So I was teaching about the information or the devices which is involved in the poem. Suddenly, the students started using a usage. It's very common nowadays, 6, 7. And it's such a high tone where the teacher could listen and respond to it. In few seconds, like when I heard it repeatedly, I just ignored it. I didn't want to like focus on it because I have to finish off the poem. But repeatedly, I could focus on the child sitting in the first row, feeling so confident and saying the 6, 7 in such a tone, how it has been emoted in the reels or the memes. Then I wanted to understand what he's trying to convey. Initially, I was like zero about it. Then later, I asked him in his pace, okay, this is something new to me. What is it? Can you just explain me? Is there any connection with the topic that we are dealing with, or is it something out of? That was totally disconnected with the topic. It showed that he was bored, he was not interested, because the next period was physics test he has. So he was mentally, physically not involved into the class. So when we focus on these minute emotions or minute slang, we can understand, because we are having a very closed circle of students, so we can interact with them in a very effective way. So listening plays a vital role when it comes to these kind of scenarios. Some students given one word reply. Okay. Did you understand? Okay. Fine. So we cannot come to a conclusion that whether they have clearly understood the topic or is there any kind of confusions. So at that time, we need to mellow down. We need to imply this digital listening strategy to understand what they are exactly feeling within oneself. So this might be a very huge connection between the teacher and the student, where they don't feel neglected or that they are complaining of something or their emotions. So here we need to try to understand the connection between the student and the teacher. So next, we have another simple activity. It is a very quick activity. It's going to be a kind of a quiz to make you to understand in what world we are all really living. We need to be educated, first of all. Being teachers, we need to learn each and every day, and we need to unlearn certain things because we need to relearn something which we have unlearned. You learn, you unlearn, and you relearn. So I request all the teachers to scan the QR code, and I will be sharing the screen for your responses. It is a very interesting part of Gen Z. So start scanning the QR code and let's test our knowledge or understanding of this real world. Ma'am, is it reflecting on the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I would suggest you to share the Mentimeter link like the previous one in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am, I will share it now. Just a second. So we have 10 questions. You can just quickly, each question carries just 10 minutes. 10 seconds, sorry. So the points will reflect on your screen. It's 24 players. Starting the quiz. The question is there on your screen. When someone comments that's cap on your Instagram post, what does it mean? Great, good response. It's a lie. The third question. What does it mean to spill a tea in Gen Z land? Great. To ghost someone in Gen Z land. It's a suddenly stop all communication at one particular moment. You just stop talking. So that's the meaning of to ghost someone. It's not send anonymous message. So in the leaderboard, we could see Shailaja ma'am is on lead, Raghavi ma'am, and somebody's surname Ribbit. The next question, question number 5. So what does it mean when someone says they stand? Great. What does the slang term cheeky describe, or what does it represent? Something that is too hard or trying to understand. So what is salty when used in Gen Z? Flex is the next word. To flex something or to flex, what does it mean? Is it to stretch or to relax or to show off or brag? The next word, if something slaps, what does it mean? Is it excellent or amazing or surprising or crazy or connected to beauty or being handsome? This, I think most of the teachers would know it. Surprising. It means excellent or amazing, because this particular word has been always used in my class. Okay, this is kind of in general knowledge. You can take it. According to Oxford Dictionary, what is the word of the year 2025? Okay, congratulations, Shailaja ma'am. You got 8,143 points. Uh,
Thank you, ma'am.
Uh,
That's because I
At-
have a Gen Z sister at home.
yes.
Atma ma'am, we have 10
Yes, ma'am.
minutes. So yeah, we have
Yes, ma'am.
10 minutes.
Almost done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
5 minutes to finish the presentation and 5 minutes for. So why this digital active listening is very important? Because here active listening plays a vital role. We just don't bypass the students in our teaching learning community. We need to pause, we need to paraphrase, and then respond. So this builds a huge connection between the student and the teacher. So that's how the digital, now we could see like ourselves where we stand. So why this digital active listening is important, we could have analyzed by now through the activity which we have done it. So let's move on to the second part of the strategy, pace reflective listening. Pace reflective listening, which recently I have identified it in one of my grade 9 classes. Just a simple example, when I was teaching grammar on direct and indirect speech, it was a reported speech class. Very simple with the rules, because from grade 6 to 8, they learn all the basics of the grammar. And here, through the word wall quiz, the students got the idea of the question answer, where they need to change the tense, where need to change the verb, where need to change the time of the adverb, all those things. But I had a simple question after the quiz. But there was absolute silence that I faced in the class. I know they are grammatically strong, maybe they are strong in the rules, but something was stopping them. So I wanted to really understand, because so teaching certain concepts, irrespective to any subject, understanding is more important. More than that, applying is very important. I thought students understood better, but the application was not that to my mark. So there I stopped teaching further and started focusing on paced reflection. Paced reflection, similar to how we did the digital active listening, that was before the class, this is after the session. It basically softens the resistance and increases the willingness of the student, whether the student is a slow learner or a learner who can directly answer it, but now and then they may also go wrong. So we need to give a moment to respond. We need to pause. We normally say, when in our old style, where we have been taught, teachers say, can't you listen properly? Where were you focusing? Are you dreaming? You need to focus properly in the class. Instead of using that old style of teaching, when we say, fine, it is okay to be, let me break it down and make it much better and clearer for you. So you need to pause and you need to explain the concept, make the child responsible, also understand the idea. Acknowledge stands for A, which identify the emotion behind the word. It sounds like you're feeling. So we not only focus on the structure or the content, beyond that, we build a connection and clarify, ask or restate to ensure what the student or the learner has understood. And E stands for empathizing. Show your care and willing to support the child, whichever the pace of the scaling the child be, whether in 1 or in 8 or in 5, which level. So reflective listening softens resistance and it increases willingness of the student. So when we involve these kind of strategies, this is completely which cannot go with the time constraint. We need to fix. It cannot happen in all the classes. It's practically not possible. But when it is required, we can definitely mellow down there, be in the shoes of the student, and make a clear understanding and create a bonding between the student. That's what this generation is expecting. They don't feel to be left alone. They want to be connected to the concept, connected to the teachers, because I could see like from morning, so many teachers been doing. So this connection plays a very vital role. So listening is most important component and it enables an active building in the student and the teacher learning process. So we're almost close to the session. So one scenario I have given here, any teachers can give a reflection using the pace, pause, acknowledge, clarify, and you can empathize the student or the learner. You would have come across this particular scenario irrespective to any subjects. After you teach the concept, student stays silent after you give instruction. So how would you respond these scenarios? Any one teacher can give me a kind of a response. There is a reflection sheet also, which will be shared by Bharati ma'am after the session. So you can fill in those informations later. Any one teacher can give me a response. So others also will get to know what it is about. No answers? You haven't faced any challenges like these? See, here we're not going to judge on how we are. It's just bringing in the strategy that we have applied earlier. Maybe some teachers would have done this pace strategy.
Yes,
Why?
Atma ma'am, I would just like to share because there
Thank
were
you, ma'am.
times when we face challenges related to disciplining the students. So as teachers, we tell them what is good, what is bad, what went wrong, how it could, how it could can be rectified and all that. So while we try to explain them, the incident and how it had impacted and what will be the consequences, I find these Gen Z kids to be having a very blank face. They never respond. So it becomes very hard for the teachers to really understand what is going on in their head. I hope some of you would have faced it. So if so, like, please feel free to share. So it's very hard to break that. I don't know whether we call it as the child's ego. It takes time to go, really understand what they feel. So we need to break down our questions until they respond. So this is how I have tried to, solve this kind of difficulty. So if any of you have faced this, please do share.
Thank you so much, Bharati ma'am. Yes, this is a real time challenge that we are facing on everyday basis.
All right, ma'am, I think you can continue.
Okay, ma'am. So as a key takeaway, there are three things that we need to focus, the 3 points, which will definitely make us to become a better teacher under the Gen Z learners. When we listen, it reduces the resistance. And when we pause, it improves the clarity. And we empathize, it enhances the learning. So these are the three takeaways which we need to implement in our everyday classroom learning. Whether we get the reflection or not, we should keep it as a kind of a mantra in our everyday teaching, because definitely one day it's going to change. So it's just a simple task about the session. I need teachers to give their responses in the chat box. 5-word reflection on effective listening is, according to your subjects, what would you tell effective listening is according to you? You can type it down in the chat box.
Come on, teachers. We are at the end of today's session, so we want a final active moment.
Whatever you're going to type, it's going to be my takeaway.
Thank you. Yes, Atma ma'am, they are giving their responses. It's like effective listening is answering the questions, effective learning, understanding, good understanding, what the student is really telling, not just the words, but the import of the words. And I think it's all bombarding
Yes.
with a lot of answers. The skill of
Yes,
fully focusing
thank you so
on.
much. Improved vocabulary, confident speaking, paying attention, good learning, great scores. Certainly, teachers, I really agree with all your reflections. And thank you so much for this wonderful session. And I thank TLRA team, the entire crew behind this scene. And I thank my vice principal ma'am, and my coordinators for giving me this opportunity for this wonderful session. And have a happy evening to one and all.
Thank you, Atma ma'am. That was a really eye-opening session because most of us do not know the slang words of Gen Z. It was very hard to decode those words, and that was a new learning for all of us today. I am sure that all the participants will do agree with that. So, participants, as we come to the close of today's session, I would like to thank all our trainers for their valuable insights and the practical takeaways that they have shared with us. So, I hope the ideas discussed today will have a meaningful change, and you all will have an take an intentional action in your classrooms and in your interactions. So if you have any feedback about today's session altogether, how was the Educators Toolkit? I think this was the first time we are launching one of this kind. So if you'd like to share your viewpoints on today's, these quick trainings, we would be happy to hear from you. Please feel free to share. We are now also as a final note, we hope you all leave today with such an inspiring and confident, ready to apply strategies, and wishing you all a continued learning.